Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Today we're tackling something a lot of you have been asking about.
Ooh, yeah.
Narcissistic relationships.
Oh, yeah, those are tough.
Yeah, they could be those connections, that
Yeah.
kind of leave you feeling just like drained and confused. And you're
Yeah.
questioning is this me?
Your own sanity.
Am I the crazy one?
Yeah.
So to help us break this down,
Okay.
we're diving into an interview that Dr. Ramani Durvasula did.
Okay.
She's a clinical psychologist,
Mm.
and she's like,
Yeah.
a leading expert when it comes to narcissism.
Yes.
She did this interview with Jay Shetty, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, she had so many good insights.
Yeah.
And what I love is that it's not just about
Right.
okay, here are the traits of a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how does this actually play out in your relationships
Absolutely.
and the impact that it can have?
Like the real world application of it.
Yes, exactly.
That's a great point. A lot of times people get caught up in
Right.
oh, is this person a narcissist or not?
Yes.
Do they have NPD?
Yes.
But what Dr. Ramani is really kind of emphasizing here is that it's the patterns.
Yeah,
It's the behaviors.
exactly. It's not about clinically diagnosing someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's how is this affecting you?
Yeah. Are you seeing these same types of behaviors?
Yes. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting
Okay.
was that she really debunks this idea
Okay.
that if you attract narcissists,
Right.
you must have low self-esteem.
Oh, it's like we're blaming the victim.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like, oh, it's your fault that this
Monkey's
person
accent.
was attracted to you.
Right.
But she actually flips that and says,
Sure.
a lot of times it's your positive qualities
Yeah.
that they're drawn to.
It makes sense.
It's like
yeah.
your strength, your independence, your success.
Like the things that we try to cultivate
yes.
and, and get.
They see it as supply.
Yes. It's almost like you're this bright light,
Oh, I like that.
and they're like a moth to a flame, but then they want to bask in it, but also extinguish it.
Yeah, and so that's why I think understanding the cycle of this
Yes.
is so important.
And she uses a really great analogy where
Yeah.
she compares a narcissist to a volcano.
Okay.
Underneath all of that, grandiosity and that facade
Yes.
is all this shame and insecurity.
They're trying to suppress that
Yes, exactly.
by this image of superiority.
Yes, and that's where we see this cycle start to emerge,
Okay.
which often starts with, what people call love bombing.
Oh, love bombing.
Have you experienced this?
I think we've all had versions of this.
Okay, yeah.
It's that whirlwind romance
Mm-hmm.
where you get all this intense attention and flattery.
Yes.
It's almost too good to be true.
It is too good to be true. It's a very carefully crafted illusion.
Yeah, you feel seen and understood.
Yeah, and so special.
Yes.
But then, she explains, that
Yeah.
ratio starts to shift.
Yes, the good times
Yeah.
start to get overshadowed by
Manipulation.
manipulation, the gaslighting.
Yeah, maybe even rage.
Yeah, and this is where I think it can get so confusing.
Right, because you're like, wait,
Yeah.
but I thought.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was so good.
I know, and you get caught up in that web, and you're like,
Yes.
what is going on?
You start to question yourself.
Yes.
This is where I think that term trauma bonding.
Yes. When I first learned about that, it was like a light bulb moment.
Tell me about trauma bonding.
Okay, so imagine you're on this roller coaster.
Okay.
It just keeps going up and down.
Okay.
And those highs are so exhilarating.
Right.
Like the love bombing phase.
Yeah.
But then those lows of manipulation and gaslighting
Mhm.
are terrifying.
And you're whiplashed.
Yes. You are completely what is happening?
Yeah. And so that inconsistency
Mm.
creates this powerful bond
Okay.
that's almost addictive.
So you're chasing.
Yes, you're I just want to get back
The good.
that good part.
Yeah.
And so you start making excuses for the bad behavior.
Oh, so it's chasing those little crumbs.
Yes,
That
exactly.
validation.
You're like, oh, but they said they were sorry.
Yes.
Or,
Or they brought me flowers.
yes, exactly. So you're clinging on.
And that just reinforces the whole cycle.
Exactly. And it makes it so hard to break free.
Even when you know deep down.
Yeah, you're this isn't right.
Yeah.
But I just can't.
You're so hooked.
Yes.
Dr. Ramani also talks about hoovering.
Oh, yeah.
So what is hoovering?
Okay, so that's when the narcissist, maybe after they've discarded you
Okay.
or pulled away,
Uh-huh.
they suddenly reappear.
Okay.
And they try to suck you back in so they might apologize, promise to change.
Right?
shower you with all that attention again.
Just like love bombing 2.0. Exactly. They're trying to reignite that flame.
Like a little spark.
Yes.
And you're like, oh.
Maybe this time will be different.
Right.
But it's all just manipulation.
Oh, gosh.
They know how to push your buttons.
Yeah, they know all the right things to say.
They know your weaknesses.
Yeah, and so that's why it's so important to remember.
Yes.
It's not your fault.
This is not on you.
Yes.
These are patterns that are meant to keep them in control.
Yeah, and that's so hard to grasp when you're in it.
It is, because you start questioning yourself. You're like, what could I have done differently?
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
But like Dr. Ramani says, this is a form of trauma.
It is abuse.
Yeah, and we need to understand the impact that it has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much deeper than just like a bad relationship. It's
Right.
like this wound that can have all these ripple effects.
So what are some of those effects?
Like, how does this show up?
Yeah, like how does this trauma actually manifest?
Well, one thing Dr. Ramani talks about is this constant rumination, like replaying those interactions in your head
Yes.
over and over again.
Like trying to make sense of it.
Yes, trying to find the logic in it.
Yeah, and I feel like with that comes the self-blame.
Yeah, totally.
Like, could I have done something
Let's
differently?
start questioning everything.
Yeah, like where did I go wrong?
Yeah, and that can lead to like feeling hypervigilant,
Okay.
like always on edge,
Oh.
like scanning for threats.
Even when you're not around that person.
Yes, even in like safe situations.
Wow.
You might be like overly sensitive to criticism
Oh, yeah.
or rejection.
Like you're always walking on eggshells.
Yes, exactly.
It's like that trauma just like stays in your body.
It does. It's like this imprint on your nervous system.
Yeah.
It makes you feel unsafe.
And then there's like the physical stuff too.
Right.
Like the trouble sleeping.
See, it changes in appetite,
Yeah.
difficulty concentrating.
It's like your whole well-being is affected.
Yes, your mind, body, and spirit.
I thought it was so interesting how Dr. Ramani talked about how empathy can actually be a trauma response.
Oh.
Especially because I think a lot of people who have experienced this
Yeah.
tend to be very empathetic people.
Right, because we're trying to understand
Right.
and see things from their perspective.
She talked about the fawn response where
Yeah.
you're kind of like appeasing
Yeah.
the narcissist.
Trying to avoid conflict
Right.
or any more harm.
So it's almost like a protection mechanism,
Exactly. You're trying to like fly under the radar so
Right.
they don't explode.
but then you end up feeling like,
Yeah.
why was I so nice to this person?
Yeah, so you start blaming yourself
Yeah.
for your compassion.
So part of healing is like
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that empathy is a strength,
Yes. It's not a weakness.
learning to use it
Yeah.
in a way that like protects you.
Yes. Set boundaries.
Yeah.
So you're not constantly giving yourself away.
So we've talked about these patterns
Uh-huh.
and how painful they are,
Hmm.
but like, where do we go from here?
Like, how do we actually heal from this?
Right. What are the steps?
So Dr. Ramani, she really emphasizes this idea
Okay.
of radical acceptance.
Okay, I've heard that term before,
Yeah.
but what does that actually look like?
In this context.
Yeah.
So it's basically acknowledging
Okay.
without judgment or denial
Okay.
that their behavior is unlikely to change.
Oh gosh, that is so hard.
It is. It is.
Especially when you're like,
Yeah.
but they said they were going to go to therapy.
Right. And you have that glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
But radical acceptance isn't condoning it.
Right. It's not saying it's okay.
Yeah. It's saying
Mm-mm.
this is the reality of the situation.
Right.
Let's work with what we've got.
It's like accepting that you can't control them, but you can control
Yourself.
your reaction.
Your responses. And
Yeah.
she actually says this really powerful thing to her clients.
She asks them,
Okay.
imagine if I told you this is it.
Okay.
This is never going to change.
How would that affect your decisions?
That is such a good question.
It is. It's like, whoa.
Because you're always holding on to that hope.
Yes. And when you let go of that,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually start focusing on yourself.
So it's like the foundation for healing.
It is, but it's often followed by
Okay.
a wave of grief.
Grief.
We-
Why grief?
Well, you're grieving the loss of that relationship,
Right. Like the potential.
the potential,
Yeah.
the future you imagine.
And also like the parts of yourself that you lost.
Yes, your sense of self, your
Yeah.
confidence.
Your trust in your own judgment.
Like mourning who you thought they were
Yeah.
and who you thought you were.
That's so powerful.
It is. And it's okay to grieve.
Yeah.
That's part of the healing process.
But then Dr. Ramani has this great advice. She calls it the 90-10 inversion.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay, so imagine you're giving 90% of your energy
Yeah.
to this toxic relationship.
Right.
Flip it.
Okay.
But 90% into yourself. Into your healthy relationship.
Into like the good stuff.
Yeah, the things that actually nurture you.
This reminds me so much of when I was going through a tough time.
Yeah.
And my friend, she told me,
Yeah.
stop giving your energy to what's draining you
Yes.
and start giving it to what lights you up.
That's such a great way to put it.
It's like such a simple shift.
But it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's about remembering what you deserve.
Yes.
You deserve to be in relationships where you're respected and valued.
Okay, so we have radical acceptance.
Mm.
We have grieving the loss.
Yeah.
And then we have this 90-10 inversion.
Yeah.
But like, how do we actually start to rebuild?
That's the next step.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming.
Right. Where do I even begin?
You're like, I've lost myself in this whole thing.
Yeah. And it can be so daunting.
It can, but Dr. Ramani,
Yeah.
she gives us like these little nuggets of like really practical advice.
Okay. So what are some of those?
So she talks about
Yeah.
rebuilding starts with small steps.
Like reconnecting with yourself.
Like, what are some examples of that?
So one of the things she says is just check in with your body
Okay.
throughout the day.
Like, how do I feel?
Yeah. Like just notice. Like, how do I feel right now? Am I tense?
Okay.
Am I relaxed?
Yeah.
Am I hungry?
Right.
It's bringing your awareness back to yourself.
It's like a little mini meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like a check-in.
Just like a reset.
I like that.
And then she also talks about reclaiming those basic choices that you might have given up in the relationship.
Oh, like what?
Like, what do I want to eat for dinner?
Oh.
What kind of music do I want to listen to?
Right, because you get so used to like putting their needs first.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait,
Yeah.
I have preferences.
Yes.
What do I want?
What do you like?
Right.
It's about remembering that you have a voice.
Exactly.
And then as you start to feel a little bit more grounded.
Try new things. Oh, step outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Rebuild that sense of self-efficacy.
Yeah, like rediscovering what you love.
Yes.
What brings you joy.
What are you passionate about?
Yeah.
What makes you feel alive?
And also just remembering, like,
Yeah.
I'm capable.
Yeah.
I can do hard things.
Exactly.
And surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
I loved that story that she told.
About the phone call.
Yeah, she had this like really difficult phone call.
Yeah, and then she had this interaction with a stranger
Yeah.
who just like validated her.
And she's like,
Yeah.
I was like,
It's the little things
Yes.
that can make such a big difference.
yeah, because you spend so long questioning, like,
Your reality.
yeah, am I the crazy one?
Am I making this up?
And so to have people who are like,
Yeah.
no, I see you.
I believe you.
Yeah,
What happened to you was wrong.
that is so healing.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders reminding you of your strengths.
Man, I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
can the narcissist ever change?
That's a great question.
Right, because you're like,
Yeah.
is there hope?
Maybe if they just...
Yeah, if they just go to therapy, if you just do
Yeah.
this.
Right.
But she talks about that.
She does.
What does she say?
So she acknowledges that change is possible,
Okay.
but statistically, it's rare.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work.
Okay.
Humility, willingness to actually like...
Change.
Oh, yeah.
And she uses that analogy
Oh, yeah.
of the rubber band.
Yeah, the rubber band.
So explaining that.
Okay, so like a rubber band,
Yeah.
it can stretch, be pulled in different directions.
Right.
But when you let go,
Yeah.
it snaps back to its original shape.
So you're saying even if they make some progress,
Yeah.
they might revert back.
Under pressure
Yeah.
when things get hard.
That's why she cautions us
Yeah.
against like waiting for them to change.
Yeah. You deserve to be with someone who
Yeah.
chooses to love you in a healthy way.
Like who meets you halfway.
Exactly.
That's such a good point.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah. You can't change other people.
You can only change yourself.
And remember,
What Dr. Ramani said.
what did she say?
Open the gates.
Oh,
Share your gifts with the world.
I love that.
It's about reclaiming your power.
Yeah. And shining your light.
Yes.
So as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
on narcissistic relationships,
Mm-hmm.
what is one small step that our listeners can take?
Today.
Yeah. To just nurture themselves.
Maybe it's trying that mindfulness exercise,
Okay.
just checking in with your body.
Yeah.
Maybe it's making a conscious choice about something you want to do for yourself.
Okay.
Maybe it's reaching out to a supportive friend.
Whatever it is.
Yes.
Honor that.
Yeah, take this.
You are not alone.
We're here with you
There is support, there's hope, and there's healing.
on the other side.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.